Hi, I'm Deanna Springer.
And I'm Dana Casey with a fun Stitches Sisters sewing project and time-saving tips from Nancy Zieman.
First, let's look at the project we're making today. We'll be making the modern floating triangles, wall hanging, and we have a pattern available with all the details and information to make this project.
This quilt will have great visual impact.
Yeah, on the wall it's really striking. And this project couldn't be easier with Nancy Zieman's quick column quilting techniques. And the floating triangles are made from folded fabric squares.
That sounds like fun.
To make the modern floating triangles wall hanging, you're going to cut crosswise fabric strips. And you'll just need one from each of 5 different fabrics. And I have some lights, some mediums, and some darks. From the darker fabrics, we're going to cut one fabric strip that's 4.5 inches wide, one that's 6.5 inches wide, another one that's 3.5 inch wide, one that's 2.5 inches wide, and then one that is 5.5 inches wide. These will form our columns, but for each column, we need to create the floating triangles that will be inserted into each fabric strip. We're going to cut a variety of fabric squares. We have squares in 4 different colors, fun bright colors in the Riley Blake shades. Some squares are cut at 2 inches, 3 inches, 4 inches, 5 inches, 6 inches. It's an assortment, and you can be the designer and place the floating triangles as many as you'd like, where you'd like in the quilt.
So the squares are 1/2 inch narrower than their respective strips.
Correct, right. Good math. You were always the sister that knew the math.
I like math.
So we'll show an example of how to make a floating triangle. With a fabric square, we're going to fold it up. And this is a hint I learned from Nancy Zieman. Instead of having angled corner seams in every triangle, you do the magic of angles with folding square fabrics. So we fold it in half, press with the heat of an iron, and we fold up the side and meet it to the top, press, and fold up the other side and meet it at the center, and press with an iron. And you don't want too much of a gap there. The fabric edges will kiss together, and you just press and press and press a whole bunch of floating triangles. You start with a square, you fold it up, and fold it again. And make as many as you'd like. And then when it comes time to insert them into the columns, there's no piecing here. In a traditional triangle block, you'd have a straight piece of fabric and 2 triangles. Well, we're just going to catch our triangle in a seam, and it'll be a floating triangle that's just laying on top of the under fabric. So included with the pattern, we give you a direction, a guide sheet that has all of the dimensions. If you want to make exactly what we're looking at, we include the simple dimensions for placing each floating triangle.
So it's all laid out where you want to put the squares to offset them per the pattern.
Right. If you want to make exactly what we have here, follow the guide sheet.
Or mix it up and flip them around and flop them, and it'll be great.
Well, you could throw caution to the wind. That's your kind of personality. But to make these, again, we'll lay it on the column, fold the column down, and you have a little pinch right there. The fabric is caught in there. We use wonder clips and then go to the sewing machine. So a scant 1/4 inch, and when we open that back up, we have triangles. So continue to add triangles in every column in any color order you'd like.
So in catching it in the fabric, you have no open seams or open edges.
Correct. All of the cut edges of the fabric for the triangle are caught in that fold seam.
That's fantastic.
So work at each column and insert your floating triangles. I'll just turn this over so you can see what the back looks like. They're just like little tucks or little folded seams. So you'll continue and do, it's the same method in every column, only it's just a different width. So we'll bring the finished table runner back up And we'll look at that one more time. So here are all of the floating triangles in each of their columns, and they're actually not attached.
Oh, so you don't stitch them down?
I don't.
At the triangle.
I don't. You can get very creative and do some top stitching around everything. Our sister Denise, she would put machine embroidery in each one of these triangles. To stitch the floating triangles down, I use the Ultimate Quilt and Stitch presser foot. It's a super slick foot with an adjustable ruler that locks into place.
Neat.
And I used the design in the quilt to parallel line stitch. So I just aligned, starting in the center of the quilt, the guide, and I stitched. And those stitches caught each of the floating triangles. So they're not going to move. Yes, they're a little bit dimensional, but they're caught in the seam. And then you can bind the quilt as you'd like, add a rod pocket, and you'll find complete binding directions on stitchedsisters.com. We hope you've enjoyed the Stitch It Sisters sewing project. You'll find the pattern and the bundle box for the wall hanging at stitchedsisters.com.
Join us again next time for more Stitch It Sisters sewing adventures.